Hello friends, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. It is Sat Chat Take 2. This is honestly the last chance I have to do this before I have to switch everything around in here and get ready for the live stream I'm doing for Derwent and Michael's. That's coming up at 8. It is 7:05 right now. Literally, this is the last second. I filmed Sat Chat, and honestly, I was like 25 minutes in, and then I decided, hey, why not? Why not show you a project that I'm working on for a client? I'll have permission for that. So, re-recording. I could have just edited that, to be honest. We're going again. I restarted. Plus, I felt like I was very rambly. I felt like I was trying to put 5 pounds of sugar in a 10-pound bag. I didn't have that much content. It really wasn't worth talking as long as I did. So maybe we'll be a little more concise here, because I really don't have that much to talk about this week, because so much of what I've been doing has been for that freelance project I talked about last week. So I can't really share the projects yet. And so, at least I don't think I can. I don't want to record this a third time, so I'm just not going to. But I can remind you of some other things and let you know of some other things going on, because why not? So this is going to post on Saturday for Sat Chat, Saturday. So yesterday would have been the first video in a new series I'm doing called Frugal Fridays. And I had so many comments last week when I asked you what your New Year's resolution goals were. And so many of you told me you're going on a no-buy, which is a no-buy year, which if you've never heard of that before, that's when somebody decides not to buy anything, either overall, except for necessities, or in a particular category. And a lot of people said they're going to do a no-buy craft supply year, which I think that's great. That's great. If you want to do that, absolutely. I am rooting for you, cheering you on. And anytime anybody said that, there was a lot of people that were kind of like piling on saying, that's great, good for you, I want to try that too. Some people were like, ain't gonna happen for me, but good luck. So I thought with doing that Frugal Friday feature will be a nice way to share some things that some of these things are things I do second nature, and I don't really think about sharing them because I don't think it's that earth-shattering of an idea. But there are always people that are coming into crafting, and often it's the beginners that come into crafting that end up thinking they have to buy everything, and they buy a lot, then they get overwhelmed, then they feel ashamed for everything they've bought, and then they don't want to craft anymore because they feel bad. So I'm hoping with the Frugal Friday feature that you'll learn ways to make some of your own supplies yourself using common household items, or taking kind of basic tools and supplies that you already have and finding new ways to use them. Because I find that when you find a new use for something, it kind of scratches that itch of wanting something new. It gives you that little dopamine hit that you might get from buying something if you use something, and it's a longer lasting hit, and it doesn't come with that shameful aftertaste that, dropping $100 at Blick Art Supplies might. So you can look forward to that. I've got a couple filmed already. I've been keeping a note, like a list in my phone, so when I do something and I'm like, oh, that would be a good Frugal Friday, I can write it down, or if I come up with an idea that would be a good Frugal Friday, I can try it out, and if it works well, I can share it. I'm gonna try to avoid rehashing a bunch of my old crafty recipes, but then again, I don't know, because a lot of those videos I made back like 2010, 2011, back when the channel was new, and I mean, that's what my blog was basically started on, was my crafty recipes. I called it The Frugal Crafter because I actually wanted to do a book of just like DIY craft supplies and crafty recipes. Because when back in the 90s, when I had my studio downtown, I actually did a workshop for teachers to like be able to stretch their art supplies at school, and to also create their own art supplies so their budgets would go further. And that was kind of part of the pitch for that book. And then when I couldn't find a publisher, I'm like, well, I'm just going to do a blog then. And it turned out working out great, because it launched this whole career, which I'm so grateful for. So I might redo some of the ideas that I think are still worthwhile, but maybe I'll just make a playlist of the frugal ideas and call it Frugal Friday, and that way people can just go back and look at them, because I really don't feel the need to rehash stuff. As long as it was like the stuff was filmed well, in focus, you can hear me, all that jazz, I really don't think it needs to be. But I'm definitely going to be mindful of when I think of something that would be a good, repurpose, reuse, recycle, get a second life out of an old product type thing, to jot it down and film it, so that actually hopefully I can film a bunch of those ahead of time, so I always have a good a good stash of those to pop out every Friday, so it can be a continual thing. Because obviously there is a need for this out there, and I'm happy to help. I definitely I feel you. I feel you on doing the no buy. I've never attempted it for a year. The only time I've ever done it, it's usually kind of like a detox where it's like Amazon Prime Day last year, man, I went a little nuts, and I'm like, I'm doing a no spend September, but honestly, August 3rd I started, and I went into October without buying anything because I was just like, I think I might have even went till the end of October because I treat myself to something at the end of, if I finish Inktober, then I treat myself to something I've wanted. So I think I might have even done 3 months there. It wasn't that hard, I think possibly because I have so much, I'm sure that's why. But it was actually kind of a relief, just setting that rule for myself, like, yeah, I'll buy it when I'll buy it in October if I still want it, I'll put it on a list. And it was almost like a relief that I didn't feel like I had to keep up with all the new cool things. And one thing that I find is that if I'm really interested in something, and this might not work for you, this might backfire, but if I'm like really interested in something, like I always think about like things I want to buy, like to review for the business in the upcoming year before the year ends, because then I can write it off for the current year. But I decided not to. But the thing that I was considering buying was the Shinhan PWC set of 32 watercolors, because I'd heard such really good things about them. I don't know any place that sells them open stock. I guess you can buy them on Blick open stock, but they're not that great of a deal. They're okay. But like, I know some artists have them in their local stores, and they're really inexpensive to buy. And the set of 32 was, it worked out to be about $3 a tube anyway. So the set itself was like $95. So that's a pretty good chunk of change. So that's not something I would go into purchasing lightly. Even if it is a business expense, I wouldn't go into that purchase without really thinking about it. And so I'm like, well, if I'm going to get this, I am going to research it first. And so I watched, and I'd actually seen Kimberly Crick's tutorial, which kind of got me excited about those paints. And Becca Hilburn's been using them a lot, but she buys them open stock, so I think she's got a much better deal going on there. That's the way to do it, I think, because she has a local store that sells them. And then I saw a review from Dr. Otto Kano, who went through that specifically and wrote down all the pigment names, and I showed a lot of really close-up photography of them. And the colors weren't very granulating, and I do like colors to granulate, and I love those effects that you can get. And both of the cool reds used PR83, and I'm like, some of the colors are quite similar. And then going back to Kimberly Crick's blog review, I saw that 9 of the colors were fugitive, she said, and I pretty much take her at her word for everything watercolor related when it comes to watercolor reviews, because I mean, as far as watercolor reviews go, she's the best. She's the best out there. And it really talked me down. It talked me down from that purchase. And that's something that I was like, I had been thinking about. I've had it in my saved for later cart on Amazon for like several years. Now I think it's actually unavailable, so that even takes the relief up a notch too. But that might help you if you're, a lot of times I find that if I'm curious about a product and I start looking at reviews, it talks me out of the product more than anything. It's kept me from buying all those cute pastel color pencil sets that have been popping up over the last month. I saw Castle Arts had one, and I saw so many reviews, but I didn't even know they were coming out, and then I kept seeing reviews popping up on YouTube, and I'm always curious about new stuff, so I was watching them, and it seemed like every person that bought them to review kind of started off with a sigh, like they bought them, they were disappointed with them, and yet they couldn't help themselves to buying them. And I thought that felt really sad, because that almost sounded like an addiction. And I've been in the place of buying art supplies where it's been on that kind of addiction scale. And the time that it was like that was when I didn't have the money to buy. And that's when the want monster was raging the hardest. And that's when I couldn't go. I remember this so vividly, and I remember the shame that I felt, and it was back when knitting was the biggest craft at the time, and it was after the twins were born, so I closed my studio, closed my business down, and I was home taking care of them full time along with my son, and we were on one income, and I'd gone to Target, and the dollar spot had all these skeins of yarn, and I think they were They were either $2 or maybe $1. I can't remember, but I went crazy and I bought several balls of like every color they had. So it wasn't that it was that much money, although it was at that time, you know, considering what we were earning. And I was just like, what am I doing? You know, I still have that yarn. It's over in my specialty yarn. Like, I've been using it for like tags and as fibers and stuff, but I haven't made a dent in that stash. I didn't end up, and I almost think part of it is I didn't use it because I kind of felt like shameful when I'd take it out to use it. And it was like, I need to slow my roll. This is unsustainable. I don't have space for it. I don't have time to do it. I think that was the other thing. It's like, I have 3 toddlers running around. I don't have time to do these projects. Why am I buying yarn of all things that takes so long to use up? And so that was kind of like a, you know, I need to cut it. I need to shut it down. And then there was a time kind of around that time, maybe like, it was probably 6 months earlier or 6 months later. I scrapbooked all along. I pre-scrapbooked the girls' first year because I knew with twins, I knew how long it took me to scrapbook Jackson's baby book. And I'm like, I pre-scrapped their entire first years. I made 2 baby books. I put a calendar page on one side and a matching layout on the other with blank areas that I could just paste in photos. Everything was embellished, coordinated, and so I copy down all the firsts that I'd read on the big calendar into their pretty little calendar in their baby book, and I would add photos every month, and that was about all I could do. But then when I got to the point where I could spend some time scrapbooking, I would go to I was going to like a weekly crop, and of course it's at a store and you're buying things, and so I told myself I needed to like scrapbook 10 layouts before I bought another thing. And so that was kind of like my scrap to spend challenge or whatever, and that worked. I never made so many layouts because it's like, I knew if I was going to go to that crop, I was going to want to buy something, because you either pay $10 to go to the crop, or you spend maybe it was like you either spend $10, you pay $5 to just go there. I can't remember, something like that. It wasn't very expensive, but that was my thing. It's like, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to have 10 layouts done before I go. And I just kept my stuff out all the time in my bedroom, and I would like slap down photos when the kids were napping, and do what I could when I could. And that was a way that it really slowed my spending, because it made me face how long it took me to use these things up. But I'm telling you, like, Joann's would have a sale, and they'd have those big stacks of scrapbook paper, like 50% off. And it was like, the feeling I felt like I needed to go and buy that. It was like an addiction. It was scary. It was just like, it was just this visceral need, like, I need that. But it's like, no, you don't. And the more I created, the more I kind of would push that want monster back in its cage, because it's like, I don't need that. This is fine, you know? I have so much to use up, and this is fine, and this layout is just as cute as anything I would have made with that new paper. But it was hard, and it was a challenge. I totally feel you if you're doing a no-buy year. And hey, you can watch my Friday video and not be tempted, basically, is what I want to say, because I know reviews can also tempt people. And I've got a review for a set of pastel colored pencils that were sent to me from Anstel Stationery Shop. I think I mentioned it. Did I mention it last Sat Chat? I can't remember. But anyway, I did this, I used them for this jellyfish video. The time lapse is up on YouTube, and the real-time version is up in Critique Club if you want the tutorials for that. But this was the Arteza sketch paper I used. Any good, like, even a cardstock, I would use whatever side has a little more tooth to it, just because cardstock can be kind of smooth. But yeah, it worked really well on black. It worked really well on this paper, which is really quite soft. I also use Prismacolors, and honestly, if you've got Prismacolors, you probably have a good selection of pastels. Anyway, they felt the most like Prismacolors. They're totally Holbein dupe. They copied the names and numbers and everything of Holbein colors, but they felt a lot like Prismacolors, which I enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, I get stuff into review. I'm thankful for that. I enjoy reviewing products, but if you see those reviews and they make you want to spend and you're trying to do a no-buy, then skip those videos. I certainly don't want to be you know, knocking you off the wagon if that's your goal for 2022. So it was really interesting. So I'm totally wishing you the best of luck if that is your 2022 goal. And another thing you could do if you're struggling with that, struggling with spending, is to look at your stash, look at the products you have, pick something, and then search for a tutorial using that. And that way the want monster won't jump out and try to convince you to buy something else. And then a lot of times, something that I like to do, and I've always liked to do this, is if I see a tutorial and it's using a brand new, you know, fancy schmancy product, I will say, what do I have that's the closest? And I will try to recreate that tutorial with the supplies I have. And I know it sounds like, duh, Lindsay, but try it. I mean, everybody knows this, right? Everybody knows they can do this in theory, but how many of you try it? Try it. You will get some of that shopping satisfaction. I swear, there's something, it'll scratch that itch. It'll scratch that need that, you know, that you're having for something new, because you're learning a new way to use something you already have. So I know you're probably thinking, Lindsay, you are not the person that I'm going to take advice from in the not buying craft supplies department. Hey, that's fair. That's totally fair. But hey, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to help because I've done like a few months at a time. Like if I felt like I've been a little too high on the hog, then I've done a few months, and it does help. And it makes, like, when you do buy something, it makes the dopamine hit much more strong because, you know, it's been starved of that particular addiction for a while. I don't know. It's brains are weird, aren't they? So what else? We've got that coming up. Last week when I filmed Sat Chat, I also filmed it on a Thursday, so that tutorial wasn't up yet. So the replay for that is on my blog and on my YouTube channel. The photograph can be found on my blog, so if you want to go there, you can see the screenshot I took of my Instagram reel. I don't know if I've said this already. This is the second time I filmed it, so I'm kind of like, am I repeating myself? I don't know. If I am, I apologize. It's been a kind of a surreal week. I've realized that I've been very busy this week because I've had a lot of projects that I've been working on, and I've been switching gears a lot, which I think is helpful for me because I'll kind of go 100 miles in one direction until I get stuck, and then I stop and I do something completely different so that hopefully I can get unstuck. But that leads to a lot of farting around in the studio. But I've come to accept that, and I think that actually farting around is an integral part of the creative process. So the next time you are in your craft room, organizing your watercolor brushes, or swatching your markers, or drawing silly little doodles on the backs of scrap paper, just rest assured you are filling the creative bucket. We need the farting around. I don't know what it is. We can't be completely productive all the time. And often if you're trying to be completely productive all the time, you're just going to get stressed out and anxious because it's not going to happen. You gotta fart around. That's my prescription. Lindsay, the crafty doctor, orders you to fart around in the studio a little bit more because it will lead to more creativity. Boy, what else do I have to say? Yeah, I got this one. I got that review coming up. I'm trying to think of stuff that I filmed to come to be doling out. I try to do that anytime I have like a series of ideas. I'm always keeping notes in my phone, and then if I've got like a bunch of ideas where I'm going to be like talking to the camera, I'll film them all at once. And so I have a bunch of, I filmed a bunch last week, and I was like, oh my gosh, every one of these videos is just talking about stuff. And I guess it's just the vibe in the air with, like, you know, people talking about doing no-buys, using what you have, which I think are awesome things to do because we have it. And if we've already bought it, then it's free for us to use, right? So I'm totally down with that. I was thinking about these, and I did a video on this. There are 4 gifts that I received over the past 15 years, I would say. Well, 15, yeah, over the past 15 years that I didn't want, I never would have bought, but I use almost daily, and they're like the most useful, valuable tools in my craft room. So that video is coming up next week. That'll be on Wednesday, I think. I'm just trying to like space out what I have. Like, I usually do reviews on Monday. I was doing a watercolor on Wednesday, but I realized that I only wanted to do watercolor on Wednesday for the alliteration of the words. And actually doing a live stream watercolor or something Thursday or Friday works out better generally. So it'll probably be Thursday since we're doing Frugal Friday now. And I'll probably just like, you know, abandon the schedule at some time because I don't know, I resent having to do things at certain times. I don't know what it is. This is my rebel tendency, I guess. But anyway, so I ended up filming 3 videos, and I don't recall the topic of the other 2, but they all to do with our stuff, right? Oh, one had to do with like curated collections. You know how you can buy, like, you know, Premium Marketing has those collections of like decadent pastel or decadent pies and, you know, tropicals and pastels and all these different like collections. But a lot of companies have come up with these different like kind of boutique collections of colors, and just kind of talking about those, the pros and the cons, and of course how you can make your own collection so you know, put the want monster at bay. You lock the want monster in its cage for a while. And I can't remember what the other one was about. But anyways, I was like, wow, I'm just talking about stuff. These are 3 videos about stuff. I could do a stuff series. But I'm like, 3 videos doesn't really make for a series. But that was something that I was doing last week. Yeah, I don't remember the other one. But I just think it's interesting. A lot of people are doing these no-buys, and I've actually seen a lot of videos on no-buy stuff, and I was thinking, what could I do a no-buy on? I would hate to commit to doing a art supply no-buy just because this is my business and I run out of things, and sometimes I have to order stuff because I've run out of stuff. And also, I think it would be kind of hypocritical for me to do a no-buy when I blatantly receive products from manufacturers for review. So and also for freelance work and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's not even fair. That's not fair to be putting myself in the same category of people who are actually sacrificing, because it's not really that much of a sacrifice. So I decided that's not what I would do. But then I was thinking, could I do like a no-buy, no junk food buy? And then I'm like, well, maybe I could do a no junk food buy. What do I consider junk food? Because I eat pretty healthily anyway. However, my jeans are a little form-fitting. They're a little more form-fitting than I would like them to be. So I was thinking, well, I could just do a no-buy on junk food. Well, what's junk food? Are crackers junk food? Yes, probably. Or chips junk food? Definitely. Alcohol? Definitely. Not that I have a glass of wine a week, so it's not like I'm in an uncontrolled place or anything, but I do enjoy a glass of red wine on the weekends. Red wine on the weekends. Man, I am just stumbling on my words because it's later than I usually film this. So that's not really an issue, but that is empty calories. I could go buy empty calories. Well, then there's my vegan butter that I buy, which is delicious. If I don't buy vegan butter though, then I won't eat bread, and that would be 2 birds with 1 stone. Then I'm like, well, also Vegenaise, which is a vegan mayonnaise that is absolutely delicious, but it is absolutely 0 amount of quality nutrients in it. So then I'm like, and as I'm doing this and I'm like thinking of all the junk food things I wouldn't buy, I'm just like getting so depressed and thinking about like how sad my life would be for a year if I couldn't indulge in any of those things. I would just be like, I would just have coffee, you know, and that would be it. Which technically probably is, well, it's no calories, so it's not empty calories. There's no calories in coffee, but I would be like, that would be it. That would be all my whole like food joy would be coffee, and that'd be sad. I'd be probably thin though, but then I would probably just be like anxious because it seems like anytime I have like an actual successful diet, it drives me to a place of just complete like I don't know, just like I don't even think straight, you know. It's just like it almost drives me to like I don't know, I think it definitely alters a healthy mental state. So it's like, can I be thin and happy? Like, it's like you can be thin or you can be happy, but you can't have both. Why? Why can't we have it all? I just want to be successful, thin, and happy. Is that too much to ask? Nope, you can have 2 out of the 3. Which 2 do you want? You know, it's like my old mechanic, he had the sign on the wall that said, you could have it, we'll do it cheap, fast, and good. Pick 2. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it is. You just can't have it all, and I guess we got to be okay with that, right? So that's it. I guess I don't really have much to say because I can't really reveal the things I've been working on this week. But I do have some stuff coming up, and also I posted videos this week, and I'm like completely drawing a blank on what they are. So hey, have yourself a little surprise and go over to my YouTube channel, click on my face under my video and click on the video tab and see what I've uploaded this week, because I can't tell you. I haven't a clue. Oh, friends, I hope you're having a great start to 2022. It hasn't been too bad. We're having a big snowstorm tomorrow, and they've already called school off, so that's good. I don't have to worry about the kids driving in the snow. And hopefully it'll be a cozy day full of snuggles and tea, and I'm going to send those kids out to shovel the driveway, because, you know, why not? Why not? You know, I've shoveled it a couple times this year already. So yeah, I think they can. They're young kids. I'm sure they'll be, you know, asking me if they can go to the gym tomorrow. And I'm like, well, interestingly enough, I have a perfect workout for you. Warms you twice. No, that's chopping wood. It'll warm you once. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I have for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I love spending this time together. I'm so glad we had this time together. Please hit like before you go. And let me know what you're doing in the comments down below, because it's such chat, my friends. Happy crafting.